It is the year 69 AD, one of the most chaotic years in Roman history. They call it the Year of the Four Emperors. Rome is a city of 1 million people, the beating heart of an empire stretching from the deserts of Syria to the misty forests of Britain. Its monuments gleam with marble, its aqueducts deliver water, its arenas echo with the roar of crowds. But beneath the grandeur, the empire is cracking. Nero, the infamous emperor, is dead by suicide. His death leaves a vacuum, and 4 generals compete for the throne. Civil war sweeps across provinces. Armies fight not foreign enemies, but each other. Blood spills in the Forum itself. The Senate is paralyzed. Citizens whisper, will the empire survive at all? By December, one man emerges victorious. Titus Flavius Vespasianus, known simply as Vespasian. He is no patrician aristocrat. His family are country folk from humble Sabine origins. His rise is not from noble birth, but military grit. He commanded legions in Britain, crushed rebellions in Judea, and proved himself as a soldier's soldier. He has no taste for music or poetry like Nero. No obsession with pageantry. Vespasian is practical, disciplined, blunt, and some say even stingy. And when he takes the throne, he inherits an empire in shambles. The treasury is drained. Decades of Nero's spending, golden palaces, festivals, endless games have left the coffers nearly empty. On top of that, civil war has disrupted trade, emptied granaries, and bled the provinces dry. Vespasian has a reputation for toughness, but now he faces his greatest test, saving the empire's finances. He begins by taxing everything: land, imports, exports. He tightens oversight on provincial governors, squeezing out corruption to make sure revenue flows back to Rome. He introduces new levies on luxury goods, jewels, slaves, even Roman citizens themselves. But here's the problem. Even with all this, it isn't enough. Rome is a machine that eats money. The armies must be paid, and they are loyal only as long as the gold flows. Grain must be shipped in to feed the city's vast population. Public works must be restored to show the people that stability has returned. And Vespasian knows one thing clearly. Without money, he will lose power. And if he loses power, Rome itself might collapse. So he searches for overlooked sources of revenue. And here is where the story begins to take a strange turn. Because walking through the streets of Rome, he notices something curious. Outside taverns, outside apartment blocks, even outside workshops, there are clay jars, dolia, and amphorae left in the street. These are not for wine or water. They are for urine. People relieve themselves filling the jars, and collectors haul them away. For most Romans, it is background detail, something barely worth a second thought. But for Vespasian, it is revelation, because he knows that what most consider filth is, in fact, profit. Why? Because urine fuels entire industries. In the tanneries, hides are soaked in it, the ammonia, loosening hair and softening leather for sandals, belts, and armor. In medicine, physicians prescribe it as a cleanser, even an antiseptic for wounds. Some Romans swish it in their mouths, believing it whitens teeth. Disgusting? Yes, but real. And above all, the laundries, the fullonicae, depend on it. Rome is a toga culture. To wear the toga was to declare yourself a citizen, a man of Rome. It was the uniform of senators, magistrates, and lawyers, and it had to be spotless. In a world without synthetic detergents, without bleach, without modern cleaning, the only way to achieve that brilliant white was urine. The fullers, or fullones, were Rome's laundrymen. Their workshops, fullonicide were scattered across the city. These places were notorious. Writers joked about their smell, neighbors cursed them, yet everyone needed them. Because without the fullers, the social fabric of Rome quite literally fell apart. So when Vespasian looks at those jars of urine, he sees not waste, but wealth. He understands something fundamental. Every toga in Rome, every gleaming robe in the Forum, every senator's dignity relies on this foul liquid. And if Rome relies on it, then Rome can tax it. This moment, seemingly small, is one of the most extraordinary examples of Roman pragmatism. Where others wrinkle their noses, Vespasian sees revenue. But to understand the full impact of this decision, we must first step inside the world of the fullonica to see exactly what happened to those jars of urine after they left the street corner, because only then can we grasp the genius and the horror of Rome's empire of pee. To understand just how powerful Vespasian's idea was, we need to step deeper into Rome's urine economy, because in the Roman world, waste was never just waste. Everything had a use, if you were clever enough to see it. Urine was everywhere in Roman daily life. It wasn't just a byproduct, it was a raw material. Leather tanners relied on it. Fresh hides from animals were soaked in vats of urine. The ammonia broke down fats and loosened hair. Only then could the hide be scraped and softened into leather. Every sandal on a Roman's foot, every soldier's belt or shield strap depended on pee. Medicine made use of it. Roman physicians, following Greek traditions, prescribed urine as a disinfectant. They rinsed wounds with it. They believed it could treat ulcers, infections, even help with burns. Tooth whitening. Yes, this one is hard to believe, but true. Romans imported Portuguese urine, considered the strongest, to rinse their mouths and whiten their teeth. Martial the satirist even mocks people for having gleaming smiles because of their imported mouthwash. But the biggest consumer of all was laundry. Rome was a city obsessed with appearance. Status wasn't just shown in titles or villas, it was worn. And nothing declared status louder than a toga so brilliantly white it could be seen from across the Forum. Yet keeping cloth white in a city full of dust, smoke, and sweat was nearly impossible. That's where urine came in. It was the only cleaning agent powerful enough to strip oils and restore brightness. So while the average Roman didn't think much about it, the truth is, without urine, Roman society would have looked filthy. And this is what Vespasian understood. He saw the jars not as filth, but as fuel for an invisible but vital economy. Now let's step inside a fullonica, a Roman laundry workshop. Close your eyes and imagine it. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Not just bad, but overwhelming. The air is heavy with ammonia. It burns the inside of your nose, stings your eyes, clings to your clothes. Nearby, fires belch out sulfur, adding a bitter edge to the stink. You hear the sound of splashing, squelching, and stomping feet because at the center of the room are great stone vats, waist high, filled with frothy liquid, a mixture of urine and water. And inside, these vats are the workers, mostly slaves. They are barefoot, their legs red and raw from chemical burns. They grab armfuls of dirty tunics, cloaks, and togas, submerge them into the yellow liquid, and then begin to stomp. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Over and over, pressing the cloth underfoot, forcing the liquid deep into the fibers. Hours of this until the dirt and grease are broken down. Some vats are shared, with 3 or 4 men stomping in rhythm, chanting work songs to keep pace. After the stomping comes rinsing. Garments are pulled out, wrung dry, and plunged into cleaner water. Then comes fuller's earth. a clay used to strip away oils. Finally, the nearly clean garments are exposed to sulfur fumes in a heated chamber, bleaching them white. By the end, what emerges is stunning, cloth so bright it seems new, but the cost of that whiteness is unbearable labor. Think of the senator in his gleaming toga, standing tall in the Senate. Every fold of that robe carries with it the invisible story of a slave's aching legs, raw skin, and lungs scarred from fumes. Rome's purity was built on filth. Its dignity stood on the shoulders of the degraded. For the slaves and freedmen who worked in the fullonicae, life was misery. Imagine finishing a day of stomping in lukewarm urine, your feet blistered and burning. You wash them, but the smell never leaves. It clings to your skin, your clothes, your very breath. You walk through the streets, and people wrinkle their noses as you pass. Laundry workers were considered low status. Their work was necessary, even essential, but socially despised. To the elite, they were creatures of filth, tolerated only because they made togas shine. And it wasn't just the smell. There were real health costs. Constant exposure to ammonia burned the skin. Fumes damaged lungs. Sulfur used for bleaching could blind workers if inhaled too often. Many suffered chronic illnesses, their bodies broken down by years of contact with chemicals. Yet they had no choice. Rome demanded white clothing, and someone had to suffer to produce it. Now here's where I need to pause, because what most people don't realize is that this was not unusual in Rome. The empire was built on invisible labor. Slaves carried water for aqueducts, mined silver in horrific conditions in Spain, and rowed the great warships of the navy. The fullers were just one example of a broader truth. Rome's glory always came at someone else's misery. If you were forced to choose, would you rather be a gladiator fighting for your life in the arena, or a laundry slave stomping in piss vats for years? Drop your answer in the comments. And this is the point where Vespasian shows his brilliance. He sees that the laundries, the fullonicae, cannot survive without urine. He sees that the demand is constant, guaranteed, unending. So he imposes a tax. Public urinals are placed across the city. Anyone who collects urine from them to sell to tanneries or laundries must pay a fee to the state. The collectors, in turn, pass the cost on to the fullers, who pass it on to their customers. The result: every time a Roman senator struts into the forum in a spotless toga, a tiny piece of the money that paid for it goes directly into the imperial treasury. The tax is small, but multiplied by thousands of citizens, hundreds of laundries, dozens of tanneries, it becomes significant. Steady, reliable income from something everyone produces every day. When his son Titus mocks him, "Father, have you really stooped so low as to tax urine?" Vespasian doesn't flinch. He simply holds up a coin. "Does it smell?" he asks. Titus shakes his head. "Then money doesn't stink."